So that shiny new game just came out, the first Berserker, Khazan, and you want to know if it's worth your time, right? Well, let's take a look at the game for some first impressions. Keep in mind this is not a full review, this is a quick look at the game. Everything I'll be talking about happened within 5 hours of starting the game, so I'll show some footage of the game while describing it and giving a few thoughts on it. The game begins with a scene explaining that the great General Khazan was sentenced to the gravest punishment possible for crimes against the Empire. He was convicted of treason and then tortured, which left the tendons in his arms severed, and then he was exiled after that. But during the transport, some spirit senses him and decides that his body would make a good physical vessel. But the general doesn't give up his body, so instead the spirit tries to get him to join with it instead. It gives him the energy of the blade, which heals his arms, makes him unkillable, and is also the power of the netherworld. He's unkillable in the sense because anytime you interact with one of those floating red blades, it acts as a respawn point. It also refills your health and respawns enemies. Also, whenever you interact with one, you can spend your points to upgrade your character stats. For the default attacks, you have a normal attack, a heavy attack, and you can block and dodge. But there is also a skill tree in this game, so you could really change up your attack styles. In addition to that, there's 3 main weapon types: dual wield, greatsword, and spear. All of the different weapons have their own skill trees too, so you can just pick whatever you like the most and just focus on that. I ended up liking the spear the most, as it attacks fast and blocks fast too. My strategy I ended up using was blocking and attacking. I rarely used the dodge, I only used it in specific scenarios. You do have an inventory too, where you can equip different gear that you get, usually from enemies or chests that you find. That gear either boosts defense or come with their own perks like more stamina, health, attack, and so on. Also, some gear comes in sets, so if you have that type of gear and you have 2 of them equipped, let's say a helmet and a top, then they'd synergize together and unlock an extra bonus. And if you have all of them equipped in all gear slots, then you get the maximum bonus for whatever that gear set is. Then you have your hotkeys, which is your consumable slots. Consumables that you find have various differences. One will give your weapons flame damage, one will heal you, one will throw a bomb at an enemy, and so on. So here's how this game works. You'll follow a set path and there will be various enemy types in your way that you need to kill, but those are just all fodder. You have to get through all of those to fight the bosses. If you die and respawn, any small enemies that you had to kill in order to get to the boss or mini boss, you'll need to re-kill because they also respawn. If you lose too much health to them, it'll be bad for when you face a boss. But that's not every boss. A lot of respawn points are right in front of where a big boss is, so you don't have to deal with that. You have stamina in this game and it's used for everything: running, blocking, dodging, and attacking. Now when it comes to Souls-like games, I think this is a really good one. It looks and plays good, and you can change up your playstyle with skills and different weapons. The first big boss that you play, the Ice Yeti, that was one of the most difficult fights that I've had in this game. I hated that fight. I had an easier time with the bosses later in the game than with that Ice Yeti. I just reviewed the footage, and I died to that Ice Yeti 23 times, which is insane. I died to the other bosses that I fight later in the game less than half of that. After that battle, the general passes out and is found by the Bantu. An old lady among them notices that a ghost is possessing him and leads him to the trials of Snow Mountain so that he can conquer the ghost within him. You end up fighting the ghost within you, Blade Phantom, and while I died several times to it, it's still easier for me than the Ice Yeti. After I defeated it, the general makes a deal with it because he wants to use its power, so now they're working together, sort of. As it turns out, the ruler of the underworld sent the Blade Phantom to the mortal world. The mortal world is somehow messing up the order of the underworld, so since the general and the Phantom both have it packed together now, that means the general will be doing what the Blade Phantom wants, which is to fix the issue with the underworld. There's a location that's like a hub. It's called the Crevice. Here you can transfer to any location that you have unlocked or replay sections of the game that you've already beaten. You can also sell any extra gear that you have here, or you can store them in a chest. The next area that I went to had enemies that came back to life. The hardest enemy of that area though was this giant guy that had a giant sword. Not only does it have crazy range, but it's really quick too. I did make it into a castle, and in there were dragon-like monsters called Dragonkin. Those aren't too hard to fight, other than the ones with the bows. It's just hard to block those when fighting a few other enemies at the same time. After clearing out that whole area, I used the teleport device to go back to the crevice, and I challenged another boss that I had available. That one is very similar to the Phantom Blade boss, so I didn't have too much trouble with that one. The boss that I had immense trouble with, and still have yet to beat, is Viper. I died several times to that thing before I finally killed it. Well, I thought I killed it. It turns out that it has a second form, and no boss or creature up to that point had a second form, so I just was not prepared for that. It took me so long to defeat its first form that after losing to its second form, I just called it a day and got off. I'll need to plan ahead to battling its second form and being more prepared. All in all, it took me 5 hours to get this far, but I also died a whole lot in this game. I do think that this is a fantastic Souls-like game though. One of the best ones that I've played. The fighting styles and weapons are fun and can be experimented with. The bosses and enemies are pretty challenging, and the overall gameplay just feels nice. Everything was really smooth. I also really like the game's art direction. The graphics and enemy designs look good. I think this game is super challenging. I played on the normal difficulty and I'm not the best at these types of games in general, but I still had a lot of fun playing through this one so far. I can easily recommend this game for anyone interested in Souls-like games, though that's my personal opinion. Whether or not this is your type of game, I'll see you on the next one.